Beloved heart, I invite you to sign up to my mailing list, and as a result of signing up, you will get a free gift. It's a 5D rebalance tune-up of all these chakras, and chakras are my specialty, so I would love to gift you with this transmission that is filled with light language and codes to help you stay balanced and tuned up during these increased frequencies of energy of this ascension, this new earth frequency. So check out the links in the notes of this show. And I look forward to connecting with you. I am sending you love. This is the transfiguration of the new you. Hello, everybody, beloved hearts. Welcome back to my podcast for another warm episode, quantum activating type episode. And I have a really special guest and a friend who I met on the Podcasters Cruise last year, Dr. Barnsley Brown. She has a 93% success rate, helping big-hearted business owners reach six figures and beyond. Fast and fun. She offers the Make It Happen Mastermind Group Coaching Program, Get Results Now Laser Coaching Program, and Transformational Reiki Training for business owners. Dr. Barnsley is also the host of the popular Bold Badass Business show that I have been also on her show. So she is an outstanding, special friend that I wish to share with you all. And just to also say that she also has a free ebook that she's giving away is How to Overcome Overwhelm in 7 Easy Steps. So make sure you grab your copy of your free ebook, and all of that information will be in the episode notes. And so without further ado, I would love to welcome Dr. Barnsley Brown. Yay!
And the crowd went wild. Yee! Thank you for the warm welcome, Monica. It is always a joy to spend time with you. And I'm happy that we're going to share this conversation with all your audience because it's like the best of both worlds. I get to spend time with Monica and we get to share this out to the world. What a gift it is to have platforms that we can do this.
Thank you so much for your time to be here with us and share some of your wisdom, and all the energy that you bring with that as well, and the excitement behind it, because you do make things fun and interesting.
If it ain't fun, I don't want to do it, right?
So I feel like, having some of that laughter is so key right now, so important, because it's one of the best medicines that we can possibly have, right? Yeah, so this topic, though, that we're getting into, how to ascend. If you want to ascend, right, you have to give up these 5 stories you're telling yourself, which is what I'm really so excited to dive into this with Dr. Barnsley, since we talk a lot about, ascension and the ascending, energies going on right now. Some really key factors. But let me start asking you, though, Dr. Barnsley, what got you, though, what led you, like your story, right? Your background story. What led you to all of this, to get into Reiki, to get into like helping other, badass business, owners get their 6 figures. So yeah, tell us, some of your stories.
Well, there's so much I could say, but I'm just seeing this image of myself in 2nd grade, Monica, and I went into the library and I was a total nerd. I was such a nerd, you all. I was a geek, a nerd. I loved to read. Reading was one of the ways I survived my very traumatic childhood. And I know many of you listening can understand what I'm talking about. I escaped with my imagination. But I remember standing and putting away a book and saying, and this is 2nd grade, saying, I will forever remember this book and it will come back into my life and I will recognize it. And the book was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. Now, years later in college, Monica, you'll love this. I took a class called Faith and Imagination. It was one of my favorite classes ever. And we talked about all the symbology in the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. And I'd always been fascinated by Aslan, the the beautiful, lion.
Yeah.
And I think I got it on a subconscious level that Aslan was the God, the source, the divine energy
Yeah.
figure. But it was only in that class that I put it together so that my intellect and my heart understood it. So my conscious mind and my subconscious understood it. And so that's kind of, I would say, how my life has been. Like I was a deeply, innately spiritual being. And this was brought up even more. It was honed by the trauma I went through, by sexual abuse, by physical abuse, and other things that happened in my childhood.
Yeah.
And my intuitive capacity was also increased there. So in my 20s, I had a car accident, and that's when Reiki came into my life. And Reiki was the biggest first portal for me to go through, to really
Mhm.
understand that we are beings of light. We are energy.
Yeah.
Matter is energy, it's physics.
True.
And that was the moment that it really, really, like the stuff I knew intuitively and what I learned intellectually began to meld. And
Mm.
it's just continued, and now I'm 25 and I'm just kidding.
I believe
Now I'm
it.
in my late 50s. I definitely don't look it. Nobody ever thinks that. I'd love to take credit for it, but it's all Reiki. It's all that Reiki energy because
Yeah.
guess what,
Yeah.
folks? Everybody listening, when you hang out in the energy and you practice energy work on yourself, as I have every day for 33 years, you stay young,
It's true.
stay
Yeah.
vibrant.
It's so true. I feel that there is this a bit of a use in us when we do a lot of energy work when it comes to, say, just meditation or even like Reiki, they do keep us young.
It gives us joy. It gives us joy. I was a struggling I say gradual student, working on my PhD and working 3 jobs to put myself through my PhD when Reiki came into my life, Monica, and I had just felt burdened. I felt overburdened. I felt, hence the ebook, How to Overcome Overwhelm, because that was something I really had to learn and continue to learn. But I just felt so burdened by so much at that time in my life. And when I began to receive Reiki, which I did from the wife of my favorite poetry professor, and then I knew, oh my God, I've got to study this. And within 2 months, I was taking Reiki level 1, and I began to do it on myself, as well as have it from friends who'd already studied. My joy came back. My
Yeah.
joy came back. And still, I can tell if I ever miss a day or I miss doing it in the morning, I can tell by the afternoon that I'm off. My
Yeah.
energy's off. And it's time to stop and do a little Reiki. Reiki is, as Mrs. Takata, the first woman grandmaster of Reiki, called it, Reiki is God's love in its purest form. And
Yeah.
I just love that description of it. So we shower ourselves and we let ourselves receive that love. And it's pretty impossible to be in a state of uh, misery, you know?
Yeah, it's true. Like I've been studying meditation for a very long time since I was little. I've been practicing it, but also like studying it from a scientific standpoint. I've done presentations on it where, I looked up where scientists have studied the monks, the temples,
Yeah.
and they studied like their brain waves, right? And they could see like the difference between someone who doesn't meditate and someone who does. Like all the monks are always spending their time meditating. And what they found is that their brain is happier. There's like more joy there. But if you notice though, some of these monks, they do look like they're young, don't they? Like
They
probably
totally
like
do.
200 years old or something like.
The Dalai Lama doesn't look like he's in his
Right?
80s. The Dalai Lama does not look like he's in his
Yeah.
80s. You know, I think that the key too is that when we meditate, we also diffuse negative energy. And so they've done all these experiments as
Yeah.
well, where they put people meditating in high crime areas, right, of
Yeah.
the country, Monica. And what they find is the crime rate visibly comes
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, it's true. It does shift the collective energy as well. And there's a lot of
Yeah.
scientific evidence on that too.
It's not the criminals meditating, by the way, y'all. So let me just say that that in case you think, the criminals were meditating. No, we're
No.
talking about other people. And so there is a way that
Yeah.
our positivity can absolutely
Mm-hmm.
influence those
Yeah.
around us,
Very
and
much. Very
not
much.
even the people we know.
Right. I
Like
love
we
that.
are shooting out energy all the time.
Yeah,
We
it's so
are.
true. There's always an energy exchange of some kind going on.
Mhm. Yeah, but is it an exchange you want, or do you want to send that thing back?
Exactly. That's the point.
You know,
Yes.
that's the question, because we've all had that experience, haven't we, where we are in a room and somebody comes in and you just feel like, ooh,
Yeah, energy
ooh.
vampires, like
Yeah, the energy vampire, right, exactly. And then we've had the opposite experience of when we're in a room and somebody walks in and we're like, we can't take our eyes off them, because
yeah.
there's just something about them. There is something about them. And I would say to everyone that something is that positive light energy, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not about what they say, it's not about how they walk, it's
Mm-hmm.
about how they who they are, how they are
Mm-hmm.
being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, energy speaks volumes.
It does. It does. So what are you putting out there, you all? So actually that takes us into our first story to let go of.
Yes, I'm
Our
excited.
first story, and I'm going to I'm going to change this one up a little bit based on what you
Okay.
said before, because you were talking about, joy. We were talking about joy and, enjoyment and laughter. All right. So I'm going to say the first story to get rid of is the story that I'm the center of the universe and it's all very serious. I am the center of the universe and it's all very serious. And
Love
the
that.
all very serious part, I just added now because when we think we're the center of the universe, like we think that everything depends on us, everyone depends on us, we've got to take care of things because no one else will. We've got to do it. We have to do this. We have to do that. We have to. What happens is we become so adult and so constricted in our
Mm-hmm.
energy. And we basically embrace suffering.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, having our inner child reawaken, let's just say, or just maintaining that inner childlike state within is the joyful energy. It's like we grow up and we forget about the children that we were, growing up. Because if you look at the younger children, they always have this joy vibe to them in most cases. So it's really about the inner child. Yeah, so that's a very important point, for us is that joy vibe. And because sometimes people, when they think spirituality must be serious, you know.
Yes, I've met those people who set themselves up as gurus, okay? And, I even remember, this is a funny story, Monica. I remember taking some of my Reiki students years ago to this Reiki event, right? And the guy who was holding it, and I didn't know him, but it was a Reiki share. So we were like, yeah, we'll go. We'll go to Pitt. We all went together in a carpool, right? And we
Mhm.
had fun getting there. And we get there, and the guy has got himself on like this tall chair up on a little platform, Monica. And he's got like these gorgeous ornate pillows. And then everybody else is on the floor in a half circle. And my students are looking at me sideways, like, what's going on? It was the guru thing. Like he was setting himself up as the guru of everybody.
Oh,
And,
the
that
guru
he was going
syndrome, is
to
it?
bestow the wisdom upon us. Let me bestow the wisdom upon us. And I make it very clear in my Reiki classes, I do have a lot of wisdom. And so do you. And
Mhm.
I do not believe, and this takes us actually to story two, is that, well, actually, still story number one, but it will take us into the others. If I believe that I am somehow better than you, and I somehow have the the last word on spirituality, that's a complete fallacy. It's a
Yeah.
complete fallacy because every single one of us is imbued with an inner light. Even those people who end up doing horrible things and end up incarcerated or whatever else, even those people have that light in them. It's just that somehow shadow has come in and and
Mhm.
obliterated some of that light, you know?
Yeah.
That- yes,
I
everyone
like
has
I
it.
like that. Maybe you could just like elaborate a little more next. Sometimes people get so particular about right criminals. How is it that they even have that light, when they've committed like heinous crimes like that, and I could feel that from somebody like listening.
Well, when they came in as a baby, they definitely had that light, a
Mm,
pure light, because they'd just come from source, right? They'd come in again from energy, right? The law of conservation of mass is that energy is never lost or gained, it just changes form.
mhm,
So when we quote unquote die, it's not, we don't end, our energy gets transmogrified into something else. It transforms. Maybe we go to another galaxy. Maybe we go to, however you want to
mhm.
conceive of it.
Yeah.
Our energy doesn't end.
Mhm,
And so when that being comes in, they definitely carry the light of source with them. But we also all carry our shadow side. We all carry
mhm,
that. And the thing I believe in life is to find a way to keep on that, like you've got this little meter to stay above 50% and better yet, close to 80% on your positivity, right?
mhm,
To get to just be above that line of shadow into light
mhm.
is what we all get to do. So something happens along the way, and that person somehow gets an appetite that is unhealthy or has an event happen that traumatizes them and they begin to traumatize others. There's so many ways it can happen,
Yeah.
but the shadow side begins to overtake the light. It doesn't
Mhm.
mean the light isn't there,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yep.
You know, there's always a light, even in the
Mhm.
greatest darkness, but it just means that it's been overtaken by something else. Now, I'm
Yeah.
also not saying we should let all these people out and let them run around
Right,
continuing to do
right. Yeah.
heinous things, because I don't believe that either.
Mhm.
But
Yes.
we all have the light and the dark.
Mhm.
We all have the yin and yang. We all have the anima and animus,
Mhm.
as Jung put
Mhm.
it. We all have
Yes.
the positive and the negative. It's part of energy is to have the
Mhm.
positive pole and the negative pole.
Mhm.
And the trick is just to keep ourselves up, keep it on the positive, right? Keep it on the bright side. Just move it a little bit up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, they're all really great points. So thank you for elaborating on that. So one of the things I also um, say is that we also play different roles here on this earth. So
yeah,
sometimes there's certain soul contracts that we come with that we
yes,
say this is where you're gonna do this action to be of a lesson, based on like karmic cycles of completion and so forth. And so I feel that also plays a role in all of that, everything that you just shared. Yeah. So, on point. It all
absolutely. So there can
ties
be those
together.
soul contracts, and I love Carolyn Miss's work about soul contracts. And so, you
Mm,
know, they're people. This is kind of interesting because when we think about why does evil happen, and that's something that C.S. Lewis talks about in his
yes.
book, The Problem of Evil, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, if you think about it, there are people who say that Judas loved Jesus the most. Now think about that.
Yeah.
Judas showed up to be an asshole, right?
Yeah. That was his paper rule.
That was his role, was asshole betrayer,
I choose
right?
to be an asshole in this life.
He chose to show up as an asshole, or as one of my friends called an ass wipe. I like that. It's a good spiritual term, ass wipe.
Mm,
But he decided to show up as an ass wipe, right? Or he did in this lifetime.
mm,
But how much love must he have had for Jesus to do
yeah.
that, right? And so
Yeah.
we begin to look at the people who are in our lives who are difficult, or the people who are there who are kind of the pain in the rear end, or
Yeah.
the the neck pain that we have. When we begin to look at them as actually the people who are there to serve us the most,
Yeah. Yeah.
it can give us a different perspective. And I'm not saying that what they did to us is right. Please, no
Hmm.
one hear that. I do not think any kind of abuse or
Yeah. Agreed.
inflicting pain on others is right. I do not believe in it. I do not believe it is right.
Mhm.
However, they showed up for us to have growth of our soul,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
And sometimes that growth happens in ways we never imagined.
Mm.
Right? You and I both know, Monica, that we have someone we know in common who lost someone that she loves due to
Mhm.
murder recently.
Yeah, it's very
And it's
unfortunate.
so hard to look at that situation. And I think about, well, what would I do if,
Mhm.
someone I loved was murdered, and it's such a feeling of, oh my God, there's nothing I can do. It's a horrible crime, etc. And I'm going to say something. We're all responsible for it.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm
Yes.
going to say that to everybody. We are all responsible for it, which comes into number 2 of the stories we need to stop telling ourselves. And that is the story of I'm alone.
Yes.
No,
So perfect.
everything we think,
Mhm.
everything we do, everything we are has an impact. And
Yes.
right now, there is a lot of anger out there. There is a lot of frustration. There's a lot of hatred, but it wasn't created just by the perpetrators.
Mhm.
It was created by all of us.
There's a lot
And
of
so,
blaming and victim
mm,
mindset.
yep. So the first thing I would say to counteract that story of I'm alone is to realize that your being, your actions, your spiritual practice or lack of a spiritual practice actually has a ripple effect out into the world.
Mhm. Yeah, very much so. That's a
Yeah.
very good segue to get into this because, as we witness, like even other people's events, whether it's horrific or great, there is a reflection in that whole pool of the collective, that is reflected within us as well. That is also like part of that collective. So that's a very excellent point to, go into this story.
I have a metaphor for this, Monica. I have a visual for us.
Okay,
Okay.
let's hear. Yeah, let's hear
So
it.
think about a beautiful pond of lovely fish, right? You have this gorgeous pond of lovely fish, and the fish are all floating, not floating, swimming around. And hopefully they're not floating,
Yes,
because that would be that they're
I got
dead.
the point. Yes.
All right, but they're swimming around. All the fish are swimming around, and you look down and you see this scum coming up from the bottom, right? And it comes to the top of the pond. Well, what do? You take a net and you get the pond scum off and you throw it away, right?
Uh-huh.
And then in a day or two, there's more pond scum that comes up and you take it away. Well, this is how we are energetically, right?
Mhm.
We need to have a constant energetic and spiritual practice to get the pond scum off.
Yeah,
And our society has pond scum coming up, which right now is showing up in the political world.
very
The
much.
pond scum is coming up, and the pond scum is coming up so that all of us can be responsible
Yes.
and heal it.
Yes, I love that. Perfect metaphor.
Pond scum,
Yes.
political pond scum. But it's happening, not just in the political world, but it's happening with all the shootings, right? That
Mhm.
are happening,
Yes.
that we hear about. Then the media takes it and makes it even bigger, right?
Yeah.
And
That's their
so
job.
we're being required or we're being called. I guess there's no requirement. It's either do you listen to the call or not,
Mhm.
to
Wake up
very
call.
consciously step up and work on our own shit. Yes, I
Mhm.
said it. And our own shitty stories. That's what I like to call them, Monica. Our own shitty stories.
Very
Because
good.
they're shitty little stories like I'm alone or I'm so great, I'm the center of the universe and you're not important. Those kinds of stories have
Yeah.
got to be put to
Mhm.
death, right? And
Or
we
just
may have to
dissolve
kill them
and
over and
alchemize.
over.
Or, maybe we could dissolve and alchemize, which is all the same as death.
Yes, right. They need to be transformed, right?
Mhm. Yes.
We may need to club them over and over. That sounds terrible.
I
But
mean,
we
it's
need to
true
address
because
them over and over.
sometimes there are like layers of it that do come up, right? And some of it we're
Yeah.
not so aware of. But the key is really to have that awareness. And that's really what's happening with the scum of the things that
Right.
we see on this earth, you know.
Because we don't know it's there until it starts really coming up. And then we're like, oh, ow, I thought I'd healed that, or I thought I'd worked through that trauma. No, I guess I haven't done enough. And I always say to people, we call it in Reiki, we call it chemicalization.
Mm.
And we can be chemicalized, like chemicalization physically can happen when, say, we have joint pain and then suddenly it's even worse, right? Because we've been working on ourselves energetically. Or we have emotional pain, like maybe loneliness, and suddenly it's terrible. It's coming up. But the reason it's coming up, here's the good news, you all. And the reason it's coming up is because you are now in a place where you are able to do the work necessary. You're ready and able to do the work necessary to let it go.
Yes.
It's not going to come up until you are ready
Mhm.
and until you have some measure of support around you to be able
Mhm.
to handle it. And I very firmly believe that. And it's nice to have a safe container like a Reiki class or
Mhm.
a channeling circle
Mhm.
like you have, Monica. It's so and my Make It Happen Mastermind for the business owners, because
Yes.
90% of what we work on is shifting our energy and mindset, right? And
Mhm.
then the other 10% is strategy, right?
Mhm.
But the mindset and the energy have to move or the strategy never sticks.
Yeah, all great points. Yes. And it's okay to ask for help, which is one of the posts that I just put on my Facebook. Because this was
Yes.
one of my issues actually growing up, is that I had a hard time asking for help. And that was part of the giving, over giving in me, like the martyr, syndrome.
Yeah.
And I feel like that martyr syndrome is no longer relevant in this lifetime, for all of us. It may have served its purpose, in previous lifetimes, but that's one of the areas that I worked on myself to really dissolve and be able to give yourself permission to receive also.
Hmm.
Asking for help is a way of also giving yourself permission to receive. So, yeah.
And we're so hard on ourselves. I was listening to something earlier and I thought, wow, that's powerful. And they said, the amount of pressure that we put on ourselves, right? More so than other people is actually cruel. Now think about that. The amount of pressure that we sometimes put on ourselves to be smart or to be self-sufficient or to be this or to be that is actually cruel. And we would not do that to another person, right? And so this is very important that we get to have gentleness
Mhm.
and grace with ourselves when we're going through some form of emotional, spiritual, physical, or intellectual chemicalization, because that is a point, it is a juncture of transformation.
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like we are the most critical of ourselves.
Yep, for
Yeah.
sure. I would never say to you some of the things I say to myself,
Well, same
like
here,
in my
likewise.
head. I just wouldn't. If I did, we would never be friends, ever. Now think about that. Are you being a
Okay.
friend to yourself? Everyone listening,
Exactly.
are you really being a friend?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that we don't need to change sometimes, because we do. But are you putting an amount of pressure on yourself and driving yourself in a way that's unhealthy,
Yes.
which is really a predominance of the yang energy, right? Of that masculine energy. Are you just pushing yourself and prodding yourself and kicking yourself? And, I like to say in my mastermind that I provide the GBK, which is the gentle butt kick. It's not just a butt kick, it's a gentle butt kick.
Yes.
The gentle butt kick is about really, why do you want something? And that's what we want to focus on. And let's make it a game. Let's make it fun.
Exactly.
Let's not make it like I'm the center of the universe and it's got to be so serious and I've got to get it right or I suck.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's really about the journey, and everything we do is an experiment anyway. It's just being here, like, as a human.
It's totally an
Might
experiment.
might as well have fun with it.
Yes, let's have fun. Let's let light come in. I
Mhm.
mean, there is no no coincidence that the word delight has the word light in it.
Right. Yeah.
Think about it. Delight. I have a great talk I like to give at metaphysical churches called Walking in Delight. That just made me think of that.
Mm.
It's been a while since I've given that, but walking in delight, like the light, but
Wow. I
delight.
love that. Yeah.
And really finding those ways in your life, if you want to ascend, and if you want to ascend now in your life, you get to find what gives you some bliss,
Yes.
right? And you get to do it for yourself, with the people you enjoy, if
Hmm.
you want. You get to do it regularly. And actually that gives me a thought too, Monica. Let's give your folks a fun little exploration. What do you say? Something they can do, an action step. What do
Yeah,
you
I'm excited about it. Let's do it. Yeah.
Here's my coach. My coaching hat comes in, is like, let's make
Okay.
this actionable, because it's great for us to sit here and talk about delight and talk about joy and talk about
Yeah.
letting in love and light and a more feminine way of being receptive and flowing, right? It's fine to talk about all that, but how do you really do it? So I
Mhm.
would say to everybody, create what I call a bliss list, BLISS
Mhm.
list.
Yes.
All right. And on that bliss list, you're going to put the things that give you joy, just little things. And you'll find that most of the things on your bliss list cost nothing. So, for example, on my bliss list is a cup of hot cocoa with little tiny marshmallows in it. Like, I love that. On my bliss list is reading a good book with my feet up on my ottoman,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
On my bliss list is playing with my 5 rescue animals and the new puppy. On my bliss list is going out to lunch with my daughter,
Yeah.
when she has a day off, which we just did, and that was on my bliss list. Just spending some time with her over some good, delicious food, and just having time out from the day
Mhm.
is on my bliss list. Reiki is on my bliss list. A
Yeah.
hot bath with sea salt is on my bliss list. A
Yeah.
facial, giving myself a lovely facial mask is on my bliss list. So I would ask everybody here, what is it? What are the small things that give you bliss? Bringing a few flowers in, daffodils from my front yard, which I have over here, gives me bliss. What's on your bliss list, Monica?
My bliss list is hugging a tree,
Woo!
hugging my dog.
Yes, your little angel.
Right, Angel. But really hiking, on trails like over here, because it's snow, they have snowshoe hiking, and that's like
Yeah.
a huge bliss for me. It's like being able to walk on the snow with my snowshoes, like it's like
I've
hiking.
never done that. We got to do
Oh,
that when we're in Colorado.
yeah,
You
we
think we
definitely
can get
have
some
to.
snowshoes?
I recommend it. It's so much fun. You go in the mountain, you're walking on the snow and, just feeling some of that breeze of nice, cool air and just being surrounded by nature, regardless of being like chilly, but but it's all like a nature connection. So I'm more of a nature person. So for me, that's my bliss, when it involves some form of nature.
My bliss is a hot cup of coffee on the balcony on the cruise ship looking out over the gorgeous blue waters.
I'm ready for
That's a
podcaster
bliss.
truth.
A nice cup of coffee that I didn't make.
Yes, yes,
Somebody brought me to room service, and I'm out there with my feet up, watching, looking out over the gorgeous expanse of water
yes. I
is
love that.
huge. And just being, yes, I agree with you about nature, just having a little time out in nature, like taking a walk or walking outside and taking your shoes off and letting that grounding energy come up and letting the sun come in on your face. Maybe you're not outside because it's too cold, but you could open up your shade and let the sun stream in. I mean, that's
Yes,
what cats and dogs do. They find where the
we
beautiful
do.
sunspot is.
My dog does that all the time. She'll find a sunspot and sit right there, like,
And luxuriate. And I do want to say that one of the benefits of not ascending in the physical sense, all right, because we can ascend spiritually, which is
yeah.
what we do when we give up these stories, right? We ascend, we
Mhm.
transform spiritually. But one of the benefits of not ascending physically is that we have this body that
Yes.
loves to have facials or loves to have a massage or loves to feel the sun on its skin. I
Yes.
mean, this is a gift that we've been given to be in
Mm-hmm.
a body. To
Yes.
have a spirit or soul or essence that is in our body is a definite gift. And
Mm-hmm.
so another story we could kill, and I didn't even put this one down, but another story we need to let go of is the story that our body isn't good enough or our body isn't
Mm-hmm.
right or
So
perfect. You know,
important. Yes.
whatever your body is, like I am definitely way more than I've ever weighed in my life, but my health is great and my cholesterol's low and this and that and the other. It's all normal. um and I think it's important to love our bodies in every season, right? So instead of looking in the mirror and saying, oh my gosh, I've got these new wrinkles around my eyes, or oh, I need to go get some Botox or whatever that people do, or let me go
Yeah.
get gastric bypass surgery. A friend of mine was talking about that. Um, how about if you look at your body as just the greatest gift?
Mm-hmm.
And really, as they say in the spiritual text, you look at it as a temple
Yes.
and ask yourself, how am I taking care of my temple?
Mm-hmm.
How am I taking care of it? And how am I not taking care of it? Like, am I smoking? Am I over drinking too much? Am I just sitting all day long and never moving my body?
Yeah.
Am I giving my body self care? Am I taking my body to the chiropractor, the acupuncturist, the massage therapist? Or am I telling my body that I can't afford it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what is your self-investment? Your self-investment ties into like your self-worth and how you consider to be valuable, which you are. Your life is valuable. Our bodies are the temple of our soul, which is one of the episodes that I shared in season one of my podcast. And these are, so important, like keys for us to living happy, healthier lives as well, rather than suffering, in a hospital and being sick all the time, because then you don't thoroughly enjoy the life and the opportunity that your soul has to express itself here in this lifetime. It's just an equivalent to like a car, right? The car needs its routine and maintenance in order for it to have its care. And so having these points and these cares that Dr. Barnsley highlights here are so important for us to really give the care that the body needs,
And
to
that we, like you, as you point out, Monica, and that we are worth, that we deserve, right? And it can be as simple, like coming back to the bliss list for a second, it could be as simple as just comfortable clothing and colors you love. Like today, I knew I wanted to wear this color, this periwinkle blue, and I have these multicolored striped pants, and they're just fun to wear and they're comfortable, and my comfortable shoes. And like all of that is a way that I am giving joy to my body, right? And maybe it's a texture you like. Maybe you like really soft things to wear, or you like flowy clothing, but really honoring what you like and bringing it into your life consciously,
Yes.
honoring it and bringing it in consciously, regularly, will shift your happiness, and it will help you ascend spiritually.
Mhm.
Because when you are in that state of bliss, you're in the state that the great mystics sought.
Yes. The
Why
state.
not have it here? Eat your little piece of chocolate and enjoy every bit of it, your dark chocolate.
Yes, yes, all of
And
it.
just enjoy it. The Incans
Indulge.
worshipped it. Let it be a worship thing when you eat your square of dark chocolate.
That's
Instead of
right.
saying, oh my God, I shouldn't be eating this square of dark chocolate. How
Yes.
many people have we heard say that, especially women, like, oh, I
Mhm.
shouldn't have
All
this?
the time.
Yeah. No.
Indulge in the little things, Self-investment is also having the permission to ask for that help,
Hmm.
and that is going into sacred space containers like the ones that you share. It's also because how often do we say like, no, this I can't do this, because it's too expensive, but what is it, where is your worth and your value in that as well? So it's all interconnected, looking at it from
And
a
that takes us back to
perspective.
I'm alone. You're not alone,
Yes.
right? So when we won't ask for help, then we really see ourselves as alone.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to go it alone, and lone wolves starve and die in the cold, right? We
Right.
we are not alone. We are all interconnected
Yes.
energetically, and I like to say the world, I used to say this when before we had Facebook Marketplace. I need to change it a little bit now, but I would say the universe is like Craigslist. You just figure out what you want and then you go look,
Yeah.
and it appears on Craigslist.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to have that experience all the time. I'd want a particular thing, a piece of furniture in a certain color and a certain kind and blah, blah, blah. And I would just get it in my head. And then I'd go look on Craigslist and there it was. And the same thing is true of the universe, but we need to get clarity about what it is we desire, the essence of it, and not just the physical features, but how does it make us feel? Like what is it that it makes us feel? And when we can get clear about that and picture it and taste it and hear it and smell it, then the universe has something to work with to
Mm-hmm.
bring it our way.
Yeah, very much. And these are really great stories. And I feel these are like the top powerful stories to share, for us to ascend spiritually if we stop telling ourselves these stories. And so it feels like the appropriate time to like start, wrapping it up. Because there's so much that we can dig into each one of these, by themselves. And, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing these stories. And
Monica, can I give you the last two though? I can
oh,
wrap them
okay, okay,
together. I
yes,
can.
yes,
I'll put them together because they actually really relate to what we were just talking about. And that is, we got to give up the story, the universe is out to get me, or the universe is punishing me. All right. And when we believe that kind of story, that somehow the universe is not there to serve us, like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, to give the previous
yes,
analogy, right? When we believe that, right, we've basically put ourselves into a victim stance, and there is
yes,
never any ascension or transformation when we are a
true.
victim. So we got to let go of that whole idea. I'm alone and the universe is out to get me. There's nothing in the universe that is trying to punish you,
Or
right?
even God for that matter. Some people just say
Right.
God is punishing me.
And the other story is that life should be a certain way. We have to give that up. The
Mm,
idea that life should be another way, because that story is based on our past, right? Things were great when this happened and then I lost it, and life should still be that way, or it's based on something we think we should have. Life should be this way, and this is how it has to turn out. But in
yeah,
those instances, we're playing source or we're playing God, and we're basically blocking the universe from giving us what we need.
we're
So
getting
if
in
we
our
let
way.
go of the universe is out to get me and it's not going to help me, and we let go of life has to be a certain way or I'll never be happy, well,
Yeah.
guess what? Anything can happen to us and we can still ascend. And my example from that before we wrap would
Mhm.
simply be, if you think about Nelson Mandela, right? And how many years he was imprisoned, but
Yes.
he was clear that no one could ever make him unhappy, right? The only person who could make him unhappy was himself. And so he was able to live in what would have been intolerable for so many people, just holding hope
Mhm.
and holding the idea that all of this is here to serve the
Yes.
world and serve South Africa. And look what happened, you know?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
happened through his journey. It's so powerful, right? He changed one of the worst systems, the apartheid system. He changed it. He changed it. That's like changing Hitler's Nazi Germany. I mean, it was so powerful
Mhm.
because he never believed that it had to be a certain way. Like he had to be out of prison to experience ascension.
Mhm.
He knew that his spirit and essence was inviolate. It could not be violated. No one could take it
Mm.
away.
Yeah,
And
very good
no
point.
self.
It has
Anyway.
this rippling effects,
Mhm.
the actions that we take and we do and our thoughts, our words and our deeds, all of that has a rippling effect in the collective as well as us and individually, our own health.
He wasn't imprisoned, Monica. He
Yeah,
was not imprisoned. Think about
right.
it. He was in a prison, but he was
Yeah,
not imprisoned.
right.
And I would
Right.
say to you that most people in life are imprisoned by these stories.
The
And so when
story.
we start to give them up, then guess what? We begin to ascend spiritually into trust,
Hmm.
into joy,
Yes.
into connection.
Yeah, and it's really ourselves who imprison ourselves
Mhm.
with having these old stories, that we
Yeah.
tell ourselves. So
Yes.
basically getting in our own way of, the universal flow that really wants to like flow through you naturally and divinely in however way that's going to express itself. So it's
Yeah.
really
Do you really think Source wants you to be miserable, y'all? I don't. No.
I hope
But
you don't think so.
right. And yet we have as human beings, we have, and in our society, there's this great big um desire to look at the negative, right? And in the
Yeah.
news, it's if it bleeds, it leads, right? So we
Yeah.
look at the bad news, right? And we like gossip and we like all this. We got to give that shit up,
Drama.
y'all, because
Drama.
that pulls us all down.
Drama addiction is like
Drama addiction, like the good kind of Broadway addiction. I believe in that. That's one of my blissful things is I go to Broadway shows every month, but
Hmm.
nope, not drama. Hello.
Comedy shows are best.
Or tragic. I mean, life is really a tragic comedy, in the great
Right.
Shakespearean tradition, because that's the other thing, you all. If we believe life should be a certain way, like we should never suffer, well, sometimes we're going to have loss and we're going to
Mhm.
go through grief. Or we
Heartbreak.
believe we should always be happy. No,
No.
that's not how life is. Life is a great big tragic comedy, but notice
Yeah.
the comedy wins out.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. So I don't want anybody thinking that we're all just fun and bubble. Like
Oh no, hell no. We don't, sometimes the bubbles are the Titanic going down. Blug, blug, blug. But even with the Titanic going down, look at all the things that happened out of that,
Yeah.
right? Look at all the growth that happened out of the Titanic going down,
Right.
but I know I'm being tongue in cheek now, but truthfully,
Dark sense of humor, I guess.
life is sometimes life is super, super hard, super challenging. And I think there again, it's so important to let go of the idea that it should be happy, it should be perfect, it should be so fantastic. Well, sometimes it doesn't feel that way, but we can ascend when we decide that we're not alone, when we decide that the universe is not out to punish us, just to go back to some of these, when we decide that we're not the center of the universe, right?
Yes.
There are a lot of people going through similar issues,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
when we decide that you know, we are able to create our own bliss.
Yeah, and
We choose that.
I'm glad you said the word perfection because sometimes people have this misperception that being spiritual is perfect also. Like it ties into this whole thing of being serious.
Yes. So, Monica, should we give them, I know we need to wrap, should we give them 30 seconds of a bit of energy to pull off some of the crapiola?
Yeah, I would love that if you're open to it, to
I
sharing
am.
with
We'll
us.
make it really super fast, you all. And usually when
Okay.
I'm working with people, we would spend time on this, a lot of time, we would spend a good amount of time and we would figure out exactly what thought, what story was
Mhm.
driving you to unhappiness and misery and suffering, right? But for now, I want you in your minds, those of you listening, to just come up with one that you've been telling yourself that doesn't make you feel good. All right. So it might be, I'm too fat and I'll never lose this weight. Or it might be, I'll never have a successful business, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or my marriage will always be XYZ. They'll always be like this and unhappy. Whatever the thought is, just go ahead and get that there, okay? And let me just ask you, and Monica, you can help because you're such a good energy. I love when we do energy work together because it's like,
As a space holder here.
yes, and you're so good at it. So I'd like you all just to choose one and know what the phrase is that you're telling yourself, like whatever it is. I'm too old. I'm, you know, what is the negative thing that you're saying in your head, that negative story? I'm alone. I'll always be alone, whatever it is. And let me just ask you, are you willing to let this go? Are you willing to let this story go? Ask yourself that. And ask your higher self, are you willing to let this story go? Because your ego self may say no. So if that's the case, ask your higher self, higher self, am I willing to let this story go? And I imagine that you'll get a yes, because the higher self always wants us to be free and abundant, happy, healthy, and harmonious. And so now what we're going to do is a little exercise I call the tornado of light. And I'm just going to do it on everyone there. There's nothing you need to do, but I'm going to do it right now. And you can just imagine that there is a tornado of light around you, and it is coming from your feet all the way up your body. And as it comes up your body, it just sucks into it that story and all the negative energy from it. And so if you ever saw those little children's games that have metal and you use this little pointer and you're able to draw with the little shavings of the metal, right? It's kind of like those little metal shavings are being drawn into this tornado of light magnetically, right? And in your mind, just say, I am willing to release this story now. And that tornado of light continues to swirl around you, just pulling into it any and all negativity from that story. And we can just imagine that everything that is pulled up by that tornado of light is turned into positive healing energy. And then it falls down upon you as golden white rain, energy rain, and washes you from head to toe, bathes you in, from head to toe in unconditional love. So everything from that tornado of light is pulled up, turned into positive healing energy, which rains down above you from your head to your toes, bathing you in unconditional love. And you are blessed and loved just as you are right now. And so it is.
And so it is. So beautiful. Thank you for that. I would love
Feels
to
good,
hear.
doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. I would really love to hear feedback from the listeners who, do this exercise with Dr. Barnsley. It was so beautiful and gracious to share with us. And I also wanted to say that as we're recording this, we're actually in the window of the full moon lunar eclipse. So this amplifies the energy of releasing what no longer serves us. And, as you tune into this, you can come back and listen to it as often as you so desire, where you can change it to a different story than what you had, here listening to this. So come back and keep
I'm
listening.
connected, I'm loved, I'm abundant, I'm healthy, happy, and harmonious. I'm a child of the universe. All of those
Yeah.
good stories. I am pure love expressing, and
Mhm.
all the others you can think of. Just find
Yes, this
find
is
your new story.
excellent. Excellent uplifting boost of energy. So thank you so much for that. I want to say that if you want to get in contact with Dr. Barnsley Brown, you can find all her contact information in the episode notes, but do grab a free copy of her ebook that she shares with us. And you'll find all those links in the episode notes as well. So I want to thank you again, Dr. Barnsley, for your time and your energy, for sharing your wisdom with us. Are there any final thoughts that you would like to share with us?
Well, I just want to say, Monica, you're such a big heart, and I love the work that you're doing. And those of you listening, tune in, make comments, spread this podcast. Those of us who have shows, we appreciate when you share this because it is our way of giving back to the world and spreading a positive message. And you do that so beautifully, Monica. So kudos to you and thank you for having me on. And yes, we'll do it again.
Thank you so much. We'll have part 2. And thank you to all the listeners. I'll catch you in the quantum field. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to click like, save, and share with others so they can also experience what you just experienced. And stay tuned for some more high vibe episodes. And I'll be connecting with you in the next quantum field. Sending you so much love.